Welcome to SAM Conversation, a program of South Asia Monitor. Today we'll discuss a development in Jammu and Kashmir where there has been an unprecedented massive input of tourists, but they are being looted. We welcome Maj Gen Mrinal Suman, a seasoned defense and security analyst. He's from the sappers, and it is to his credit that when the nuclear test was being performed at Pokhran, it is he who was in charge of preparing the shaft for it. General Suman is out of one of the officers of a group of officers who recently visited Srinagar and some other places. Ever since the abrogation of Article 370, the tourism started picking up, and it reached a stage where it is unprecedentedly high. But the very disturbing aspect of it is that a lot of tourists are being fleeced. General Suman sir, I request you to give us an overview of whatever you experienced recently.
Thank you, Anil. It's a pleasure to be associated with you. My, let's say, first visit to the Kashmir Valley was in 1961, nearly 6 decades earlier, when my father was posted there and I visited that place and took my NDA exam in Srinagar. After that, after having joined the army, the valley very often, mostly on duty. Now, after the abrogation of Article 370, there was an urge to go and see the changed circumstances. I had seen the valley in the early 90s at its worst, when the turmoil was at its peak. And now we wanted to see how the things have changed after the abrogation of Article 370. So we were 3 veterans with our wives, so 6 of us. We decided to visit the valley and visit the major places. Our trip was for 8 days from 21st to 28th March. It was through a tour agency, a reputed tour agency, and we stayed in 3/4-star hotels, hired a Innova Crista for 8 days, which stayed with us. No complaints about the hotels. They were very warm, wanting to do well, trying to establish themselves. They had lots of people who were untrained because there was no hotel industry or hospitality industry earlier, and now they were picking up. And they were grateful if we told them a few tips. So that was very nice. I mean, as far as the hotel industry was concerned, they were warm, keen to serve us better, and keen to impress us. But what actually hurt us most was the total neglect of the industry, the tourism industry, by the state government. Center is doing its bit, but ultimately it is for the state government to carry out the infrastructure development. You'll be surprised that the first shock that we got was from the tour operator itself. We got a warning from him. Sir, you're going there. Please do not argue with people. People are very rude. Whatever you fix with them, make sure that it's absolutely clear, because at times there can be disputes about whatever they are talking to you or discussing with you. And the worst was when they said that if you want our help, please give us a ring, but away from the tour, from the local vendors and the local taxi wallahs. I mean, it shows the amount of fear they had about the local mafia, that they dare not intervene even on behalf of their own tourist guests. I mean, that was quite a shock. They're saying that you can complain to us, but complain in private so that the local taxi walas and the vendors and others, the pony walas, they don't get to hear what we are talking about. Notwithstanding that, the valley is beautiful. Nature has really blessed it. It is undoubtedly a paradise on earth. The weather was excellent. We started our tour with the four Mughal gardens. Sad to say, they're such beautiful gardens. They are in utter state of neglect. The steps are broken. There are no railings for the tourists to climb up. When it started drizzling, the whole place was slippery. There are no toilets nearby. And even the tiles had got uprooted at most of the places, and nobody had set them right. They have a small ticket, entrance ticket for the gardens, no issue in that. But at one garden, the security staff themselves were taking back the tickets so that they could recycle it and pocket the money. It was quite a shock that they were doing that. More than anything else, Anil, there is a mafia working at all the tourist spots whose total aim is to act like vultures and to sort of loot as much as they can. I give a very small example. We went to a place called Dudh Patri. We had a vehicle, as I told you, hired vehicle for which we had paid an Innova Krista. It was stopped 2 kilometers short of the tourist spot. And we were told, and that is at around 9,000 feet altitude, either walk down to Dudh Patri or hire our ponies or hire our what they call ATV, all terrain vehicle, the four wheelers, on which one person can sit, and they charge 1,500 rupees for that. Six of us, we are all senior citizens. We walked about 500 meters, then realized that it is not, won't be sensible to walk 2 kilometers downhill and 2 kilometers uphill in 10,000 feet, 9,000 feet altitude when we had not acclimatized. So we gave up. So the net result was that we had a vehicle, the road is there, blacktop road is there, but we were deprived from visiting Dudh Patri just because the local mafia said, please sit down on the ponies and visit that, otherwise we'll not let you go. The vehicle was stopped. And our own taxi drivers are so scared. I'm talking about the taxi driver whom we had engaged in Srinagar, who was with us for 8 days, a good person, well-meaning person, but they are so scared of the local mafia that they dare not disobey them. Because they say they stone our vehicles, they break our window panes. So then it really, the net result of our visit to Dudh Patri was that we did not visit Dudh Patri, and we remained 2 kilometers short and came back. We went to Sonmarg. That day, there was heavy snowfall, wonderful weather, bright sunshine. There were thousands of people. Thousands, when I say thousands, they can beat even Karol Bagh. People playing in the snow, enjoying themselves. All through that 2 kilometer stretch, there was not even a single toilet in such cold weather. When people were playing in snow, they were getting wet. They wanted to urgently go to the toilet. There was not even a single toilet. Worse, when I looked around and asked other people, there was not a single tourist official, not a single policeman who could help you out. Ultimately, we located that some people, some hoteliers, enterprising ones, they had pitched a small little shack or a tent outside at the backyard, and they were charging 10 rupees per individual for going and using that place. And what had they provided there? One single pot. Gent or ladies, use it or forget it. And when I wanted to go there, we found that there were a queue of nearly 25 to 30 people. I mean, 30 people means your turn would come maybe after about an hour. So there I went, entered a hotel, and then we ordered some kava and all that. And there I saw a lady pleading with the manager there. He was the maybe manager or the headman at that time, saying that she needs to go urgently. to the toilet. He told her to please go outside, pay 10 rupees and stand in the queue. She says, I can't wait. He says, I can't help. Then ultimately he told her that if you want, you can hire a room for 1 hour. I charge 6,000 rupees as rent for one night, but from you, I'll charge 2,000 rupees for 1 hour and then let you use the toilet. That lady, with the tears in her eyes, paid 2,000 rupees. She couldn't help. And this ruthless, merciless chap then only opened the door of the bathroom for her. I mean, what I have quoted you just one incident. Believe you me, over 8 days, I found that every single vendor, poniwala, taxi driver, and other whosoever the service providers, they are all the same. The one and single aim is loot, loot, and loot as much. And they are more than vultures. I mean, the lady was, I mean, she was wearing a sari. She was maybe from Maharashtra or South India. She was maybe 50, 55-year old. And one aspect which I want to highlight is that when we went in the end of March, at that time, most of the schools were, or the exams were on. So the young crowd was less and middle age or the senior crowd was more, because all of us, like, we wanted to go before the schools closed down so that there's not much rush. So this lady was also maybe around 55, 60-year-old, but what a plight, and I don't think she will ever carry a good opinion about um, the Kashmir Valley. And that man was heartless. He didn't even sort of think twice that, I mean, that lady was his mother's age and what a state she was in. But she had to go, she had to go. That was unfortunate part. When you talk about the Sonmarg, we told you about the Sonmarg. We went to Pahalgam. Same, we have a vehicle. The vehicle is parked in the hotel. The vehicle is not permitted to move beyond Pahalgam. There are three local sightseeing sites: the Aru Valley, Betab Valley, and Chandanwadi. So you have to hire the same Innova Krista from one of the trade union, and one of the drivers will come, charge you 3,000 odd rupees, and take you to these three places over a trip for about 5 hours. Imagine the irony of the things. You have a taxi, you have paid for it, it is standing in your hotel, and you are still being asked to pay for another taxi of the same kind to go around in that area. So you land up paying for two taxis at one time. We are paid for the taxi, which we have brought from Srinagar, and we are paying for another car, the taxi, which we had to hire from Gulbarg, from Pelgam, the trade union. And they are so clever, and they are so unscrupulous. They take you around in what is supposed to be a 5 hour trip. They try and finish off in 2.5 hours so they can do another trip. And in that also, let me tell you, they took us 1 kilometer beyond Betab Valley. And they stopped. Sorry, sir, आगे हम जा नहीं सकते. So why can't you go? He said, सब टैक्सी इधर ही आती है. मैं कहा चंदनवाड़ी किधर है? चंदनवाड़ी तो 6 किलोमीटर दूर है. तो बट आपने तो हमसे पैसा लिया चंदनवाड़ी जाने का. हाँ सर, हम इसी को चंदनवाड़ी स्टॉप कहते हैं. So they didn't take us to Chandanwadi. They named a place called Chandanwadi stop, and they turned around came back. So we, after having paid for going to Chandanwadi, we never went to Chandanwadi. And it was a personal loss for me, because in 1961, I had walked with my parents up to Chandanwadi and I wanted to see. And border roads have made a beautiful road there. Everything is fine, but these people, just because they are a mafia, and you can't argue, and we had already been warned by the tour operators that don't get into an argument with them. So what could we possibly do? So we turned back. Yes, please.
Sir, it's in fact what a it's a very unpleasant surprise to get all these inputs from you. But what about the local police? In? Were they not deployed there? Was there no was there no help from their side, or uh,
That's the saddest part. All through our stay there, we saw a few policemen in Lal Chowk, Red Scare, what they call. Otherwise, nowhere was any police to be seen. Our salute, our hats off to the CRPF, They were there in patrolling the place. They were occupying posts all along the road, and they were the one who were instilling confidence in the public. They were very nice people, and they were up and about, alert. But local police, sorry,
this is the army that you're referring to, sir.
I'm talking about CRPF.
CRPF, okay, sir.
Yes. Army was not deployed. The CRPF is manning the
army,
place.
because army, I think they made sure that army is kept away now from and placed only on the line of control.
That's right. That's right. The CRPF is responsible for the internal security, and they are doing a fabulous job. And one could see them at every place, on every major artery, major road. They were there with their vehicles, patrolling the place. Even in Red Scare, they were there. But so local police and local tourist staff or tourist department or the government officials, it appeared that the state government had abdicated its responsibility totally. They had left the tourists at the mercy of the mafia. And I was telling you, like, imagine they were trying to talk and calling it the heaven on earth. When we went in that 2.5, 3 hours drive from Aru Valley to Beta Valley to Col Chandanwadi, which is just about 1 kilometer from Beta Valley, we didn't come across a single facility, single toilet, single what do you call shelter. If the weather backs up, where the tourists will stand, what will they do? And the worst was, I have put up a photograph to the state government. I said, these are the boulders at Beta Valley, behind which most of the ladies were going in a queue for toilet. I mean, what a shameful and disgraceful thing to call it a Betab Valley. You have thousands of people playing around, frolicking in water there, beautiful, clean water, but not a single facility. And you left the tourists go behind the boulders.
No, this, sir, it only reflects, firstly, what things were like prior to the abrogation of 370, and that nothing has been done to improve on that, sir. And of course, from what you said, it's very clear that the state government officials or operatives who are, those who are responsible for various tasks, their mindset has probably not changed much, sir. We keep hearing, from time to time, statements from the government that there's a great change, there's a great change. But I'll say that even for the insurgency terrorism, it may certainly have improved, sir. But it's still disturbing enough to have, incidents which last up to a week. Just imagine 4 to 5 or 6 terrorists. They hold down a battalion or a brigade. Still,
that is one part, Anil.
Sir.
That is one part, Anil. But as I said, the CRPF is trying to do its best to make sure that the tourists remain safe. But what hurt the most was tourism. Anil, you'll agree with me, is a very, very, very sensitive industry. Once the tourism industry, if an area gets a bad name, people will start shunning it. Because one, they know that this is not a safe place. They know that you'll be looted. You'll know that you cannot be helped. People will stop shunning it. My aim of putting up these points to the government, to the public, was primarily to, let's say, persuade the state government to take up the responsibility that it is their due. If you are inviting tourists, you are duty bound to make sure that the people are comfortable.
You sent feedback on this to I think you wrote to the Prime Minister, sir.
Yes, I sent it to the Prime Minister, and I got a call from the Sonmarg Development Authority saying, sir, you are unhappy. So can we return those 2,000 rupees where the hotelier charged? I said, what a foolish statement to make. I don't even know who the lady was. And the aim is not that she was charged 2,000 rupees. The point was that it was an unfair way of treating a tourist. Actually, let me also tell you, Anil, the economy is thriving in that area. You can't imagine the number of vendors. You can't imagine the number of shops. You can't imagine the number of hookahs that have come up. You go to any place on the roadside, the people are selling sarson ka saag, makki ki roti. I mean, things which were unheard of. So we stopped at a place. So I asked that lady who was makki ki roti on a small little thela, I said, इससे पहले क्या करते थे आप जब टूरिस्ट नहीं थे, कुछ नहीं, कैसे खाना पाते थे? एक बच्चा है वो 500 रुपए ले आता था पत्थर फेंकने के लिए, और बाकी का काम एक छोटी सी खेती है, जो भी उसमें से हो जाए पैदा हो जाए। और अभी अभी मैंने सीखा है, यहाँ पे हमारे घरों में तो कोई साग की मक्की की रोटी बनाता नहीं, लेकिन मैंने सीखा है ताकि मैं नौकरी कर, मैं कुछ कमा सकूं पैसा। तो शी वॉज मेकिंग रोटीज, वेरी नाइस रोटीज, वी हैड विद हर, गेव हर टिप ऑल्सो बिकॉज शी वॉज हार्ड वर्किंग, एंड हर हस्बैंड वॉज सर्विंग, standing close by. So what I'm trying to say, there is a sort of growth of economy. There is as if the sort of sky has the opportunities have opened up for them.
Absolutely, windfall for them, sir. Windfall,
Windfall.
absolutely, no doubt. But it's very, very revealing, sir. Whatever you brought out, that she had a son who's earning by throwing stones at the army and security forces, and
I mean, of
that's
course,
how the money was coming.
That's how we got it out from her कि भी खाना तो चलता होगा। नहीं साहब, कहीं बच्चे को मिल जाता था 5, तो चुप कर गई। मैंने क्या पत्थर फेंकने के लिए, फिर चुप कर गई। तो मैं बोलो बोलो, हाँ कुछ काम दे देते थे। What I'm trying to say is that the economic boon is unprecedented. Believe you me, there are lakhs of tourists landing up there. The hotels are fully booked. The airport is choked. Every road, the people are Indian tourists. They are foreigners also, but lesser number. Indian tourists, for them, it is something, a mystery which they wanted to see. What is, they have never been to Kashmir.
No doubt, sir. And no, and uh, there's absolutely no doubt about the fact that the center here needs to take, take a very serious view and ensure that all actions are taken to ensure that these such elements cannot have their own way.
But they seem to be having the blessings of the government. These mafias seem to be thriving only. Now take the case of Gulmarg. Gulmarg has got the best gondola in the world. It's in two phases. It's out of this world. I mean, it's an experience. I have commanded my regiment in Siachen. Even then, I was fascinated by the expanse of the glacier. It is so beautiful. But can you believe it? The tickets are opened online, and within seconds, all the tickets disappear. Nobody knows who buys them. All of them disappear, and they say, the tour operators say, sir, there is a thriving black market in that. When we went to Gulmarg, again, first, a terrible experience. Our own vehicle is standing there, which we have paid for, which we have hired. They say, sorry, sir, you cannot use it. You have to hire our Krista, Innova Krista, to visit the palace, to visit another place, and all that 2-3 places. You cannot use your own vehicle.
And
so
there again, they
end up paying double.
They don't take you to their destination. They leave you. They stop 4 or 5 kilometers or so before that, which in that terrain is not funny, sir.
It's not funny. Not only that, the vehicle which we had taken from Srinagar, we dropped us at the hotel, and then he walked out. He said, "Sir, मैं अगर गाड़ी इधर रखूंगा ये तोड़ देंगे. I will go back to another village and stay there." And this is the mafia. The sad part is they have the best gondola in the world. I mean, no gondola can match even in Switzerland and others. But yet, will you believe it? There was a 2.5 hour long queue to get into the gondola. And in that, there was not a bench, there was not a shelter, there was not a railing, there was not a seating arrangement. किसी के लिए कोई बनाओ, कोई टॉयलेट नहीं है। 3 घंटे लोग, middle-aged people standing there. They had not even cleared the snow. The people were skidding and falling. I myself fell down there. We had to hold each other's hand to negotiate that queue. I mean, it's I mean, I just can't imagine that these people are ignorant about it. Same is the case when you go into the gondola, you go up, you
No,
don't find a single
um,
facility, single infrastructure. You know, Dal Lake has its own charm. Staying in a houseboat and taking a ride in the shikaras, everybody wants to experience. Houseboats are nice, they have been done up, they are being renovated, but houseboats in Dal Lake, the surrounding area are filthy. There is no authority who's checking them up. If you put your hand in while sitting in the duck boat, you may land up picking up filth in the water. There is growth all around. There's no cleanliness. There's no hygiene. However, houseboats and Nagin Lake are comparatively better. But what surprised me most as a sapper officer was the fact that in that sort of water environment, not a single houseboat or a shikara had a safety, a life jacket. Not even one. The jetties from which the shikaras were receiving the tourists were all broken. There were no railings. They were slippery. The tiles had got uprooted. And it was difficult. It was really a challenge for the middle aged people to step out of the steps and get into the house in the shikara. And they had to be helped that way. And what worried me most was when I saw a couple passing on their baby to the shikara chap to put in the shikara. I mean, God forbid if the baby slips or anything of that sort happens, there are no jetties worth the name. There is no precaution taken there. No one is, I mean, it is as if a tragedy is waiting to happen there. And is filth all around as far as the houseboats are concerned, especially in the Dal Lake. So I would request the government to make sure that we do not have any tragedies, we do not have accident, loss of life. Dal Lake is quite deep. So they ought to have certain precautions, like life jackets should be made available to the people, even if they are not wearing, at least the shikaras must have, the houseboats must have. It is in a sheer abrogation of all responsibility, abdication of all responsibility by the state government. It is totally left to the people, to the mafia to manage whether the shikaras or the tourist spots or the taxi stands. It was a very unpleasant experience and let me say disappointing experience. In my article, I have written that despite all my nationalist feelings and despite my love for the Kashmir Valley, I do not feel the Kashmir Valley is at present ready to receive tourists the way they are rushing in. There is no facility. The government has to undertake certain amount of responsibility. We all know that in high altitude areas, the weather can turn for the worse at no time. They do not have anyone to rescue the people. They have no first aid posts. They do not have the oxygen cylinders. They have no medical help, anything anywhere available. It is free for all. All is fine as long as it remains safe. But the day something happens, then the government perhaps will wake up. That was the aim. And second aim is they must make the people, the taxi people, this thing sensitive to the requirement
um,
of the tourists. You cannot go on looting them. For how long can you act as vultures, and for how long can they keep coming back to you as praise?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for some very important inputs that you've given, which were not which were not known much. And I think it's high time that the you know the central authorities they ensure that the state government is functioning in all aspects to make tourism, not only tourism, to keep the valley and to keep all places safe.
Right.
Otherwise, they, that means that the mindset of people has is not changed. Of
Right. Absolutely right.
this one indication is that
Right.
niyat nahi badli,
Niyat
niyat
nahi badli.
nahi badli. Anyway, let's hope for the best, sir, because uh, the abrogation of 370 is one very major task. One very major aim achieved, but it remains unachieved. All if all these if all if the state is not functioning in all aspects. Thank you very much, sir. All the
Thank
best.
you, Anil. Thank you, Anil. Thank you. Goodbye.